Hi, and welcome to the Kelly Kitley podcast, America's Social Worker Unfiltered. This week, I have a woman who is so on fire right now that I had to get her because Colleen Cira, or I should say, Dr. Colleen,
Thank you.
um, has been using her platform to spread awareness and educate about the recent misconception that there is a link between autism and Tylenol usage that was released last week from the Trump administration. And I know for a lot of folks that I work with, there's been some outrage and concern and fears, and there is no proven evidence that this linkage is true. So I thought, why not go to the expert and somebody who not only educates people in the community, but also identifies
Mhm.
as somebody who is autistic. So I am passing the mic, and we need to just let it rip. And please tell me how you're feeling, what you're hearing, and set the record straight.
Yeah. So, I mean, first things first, you already said it. Tylenol does not cause autism. This has been researched and investigated for literally decades. There is zero evidence to support the idea that Tylenol causes autism or that vaccines cause autism for that matter, right? What we know very clearly from decades of research is that there is no one cause. It is primarily genetic. And it's not one gene, it's multifaceted and complicated. And because of that, and a lot of other things that we probably won't have time to get into today, but there's lots of evidence and research that autism and ADHD, for that matter, are neurotypes. And a neurotype is simply a different way of being and experiencing the world. And evolution is smart, it knows what it's doing. And there's a lot of good data to support the idea that ADHD and autism were kept around from an evolutionary perspective because they have benefited humanity and continue to do so. So I
In what
do,
ways? In what
oh my
ways?
God, so many, so many. We always talk about like the struggles and the hardship, and those things exist. I like want to be really, really clear about that, especially for high need support individuals or parents or caregivers to high support autistic kiddos. Like the struggles are real. None of this takes away from the struggles are real. And ADHDers, it's speculated that we were the hunters of the world, like that when it was scary to go outside and every new thing meant death, that ADHDers, because of our, impulsivity and proclivity toward taking risks, that we were the ones like eating that berry and checking out that new space and like allowing humans to take up space and evolve. And autists, oh my gosh. Now, this is for more level one and level two support need individuals, but autists who can function out in the world as society expects them to, we bring exquisite sensitivity. We say it like it is. We mean what we say and we say what we mean. We hold people accountable. We move the world toward justice. Like our attention to detail is like, woo, next level. There is so much beauty. And again, that does not negate the pain or the struggle, but there's so many strengths and we don't ever talk about those things.
And you are doing a great job on your social media platforms. And for people listening who are only going to get a taste of what you're talking about on this podcast, where is the best place for them to find information? I mean, we met 10 years ago.
So
Um,
wild.
and you were coming to me talking about expanding your practice, and
Yeah.
it's exploded. I mean, you have been such a resource in the Oak Park community, in Chicagoland. There are providers of so many different backgrounds, diversity, prescribers, expertise.
Yeah.
And I refer to your practice often. You take
Thank you.
insurance, you always have room for people. And
Yeah.
so, where's the best place for people to continue to get educated um,
Yeah.
and follow you and hear more about what you're saying?
So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We also have some great resources on the website, or can guide you to great resources if you reach out to us. We really want to be a resource for people because it's hard to find providers who actually know what they're talking about when it comes to ADHD and autism. I think what I'm finding based on my own experience with myself and my neurodivergent children and that whole diagnostic journey, and what I hear from families in the community is that lots of providers say they do neuropsych evaluations or they specialize in neurodivergence, but what they really mean is they specialize in ADHD and they don't specialize in autism and they don't test for autism, even though the link between ADHD and autism and the overlap is crazy high. I wish I could be one of those people who just like spit off stats, but I can't. The overlap is crazy. But lots of providers don't know that. And so I would really encourage folks come to us. And if we can't help, we will get you to the people who can
Mhm.
because it's risky. People, we're all out here doing our best, trying to find the resources for ourselves and our kids. And we've got to weed through all these folks to figure out if they're even able to help, let alone the logistics of insurance and availability. I mean, it's just a nightmare. So my practice does offer 30-minute clarity calls, which are free. And it's not even to book a therapist with us. You can if we can help, but if not, we'll find you the resources to go somewhere else.
Mm.
So they can certainly be in touch with us.
That is so invaluable. And weren't you doing training in the community as well for
Yeah.
what was it, Oak Park Youth Baseball? And,
Yes.
and educating coaches and other
Yes.
parents too about how to work with neurodivergent kiddos?
Yes, I'm glad you brought them up because huge shout out to OPYBS. They are really leading the charge on this and really want to have an athletic program that is inclusive and is accessible. And they understand that we simply cannot do that
Mhm.
without training, that like good intentions does not mean meaningful impact, does not mean positive impact. And so yeah, OPYBS and I are partnering. They have started this fall, and everybody is going to have the opportunity to get live trained next spring. And so it's really just helping. My passion is helping people see neurodivergence in themselves and their loved ones. People who have not been diagnosed, but have probably been struggling for a long time. And
Mhm.
we just, again, we've been conditioned that we don't see ourselves. We don't really know what the symptoms are. We only know what the archaic stereotypes are. And I really want more people to see themselves and their loved ones in the symptoms. Symptoms. Oh, such a gross word, but
You said it's not a disorder.
it's not. It's not. I've got my psychologist hat on though. So I think it's important because I think a lot more of us are neurodivergent than we know about. I think the numbers and the stats grossly underestimate how many of us are neurodivergent. And I think the more of us that self-identify or go on to get formal assessments and diagnoses, both are valid,
Mhm.
then we move the needle. Because right now, this is like a niche issue that 5% of people have or something. And it's like, that's not true. That's not true. Left-handedness wasn't a thing until we knew it was a thing.
Sure.
And then suddenly we got an explosion of left-handers. Like
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
folks were always left-handed. We just didn't see them. And the same is true here.
Colleen, can before we started recording, you were educating me a little bit because I need, even as an expert in my field, as a cognitive behavioral therapist, um, I have so much to learn and I'm
Yeah.
trying to keep up with things. And something that you described to me that was so helpful was I have been describing autism along a spectrum, and you said it's
Hmm.
not linear, it's circular.
Yeah. It's
Can you
circular.
can you break that down for
Yeah,
people?
that's right. So you're not alone. When we hear spectrum, I think most of us think of like this line, right? So that makes sense. But with autism and perhaps most things, I like to think of it more as a circle with like aspects of life and functioning in little chunks, like a pie, around the circle. So one might be communication, relationships, how you are at work, whatever, all these different areas of life. And maybe toward the middle of those things is where folks have the most access to privilege and power. And toward the outer end is where folks feel most marginalized, systemically marginalized. And so for some of us, is specifically in terms of, high level, high support need folks, most of their domains are more on the outside, experiencing intense struggle and strife and pain and marginalization because we don't have the infrastructure and the support that we need, right? And for those of us who are more high functioning, which doesn't mean it's easy, but we are more high functioning, we might be more in the middle, right, on those different areas of functioning. But for a lot of us, we experience a lot of diversity within that. Where some of us have a lot of power and privilege in work, perhaps, but that same person might experience a lot of marginalization in their interpersonal relationships or how they communicate. So I like thinking of the spectrum like that. And it does not mean that some of us are really autistic and some of us only have a touch of the tism, which we talked about before. That is not true. If that's how people need to like dip their toe into the conversation, okay, I'm happy to meet people where they are.
Mhm.
But that it's just not true. You either are autistic or you're not. And then where you are on that circly spectrum, there's variance there, right? Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I guess I'm thinking about a teacher in a classroom
Yeah.
and, trying to navigate everybody's different needs. And
Uh,
I mean, regardless if there's neurodivergence or
yeah.
some other special need. My sister's a special needs Chicago public school teacher, and she's like,
Oh,
Kelly, we all have special needs,
that's true.
So I just think of how overwhelming that can be. So
Yeah.
for one person or two people in a
Yes.
classroom who are trying to understand that, and I guess if there was like a 101 kind of class that you could teach about how to be respectful and curious and not label people and ask the right questions. I sometimes um, am afraid to use the language in a way that might offend
Sure.
somebody,
Of
and I
course.
think
Yeah.
sometimes other people are too, so they don't say anything. But
Mhm.
that keeps us ignorant. So I guess, is there like an approach you would suggest people take in trying to get curious?
Yeah. Well, so my answer is twofold. The anarchist in me says, and this is why the current state of academic education needs to get
Doesn't.
burned to the ground, right?
Could you do that
Um,
while you're doing this? Could you do that
yeah,
too?
I mean, I'm working on it in more ways than I wish I could talk about. Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for anybody, right? Teachers included. Again,
Mhm.
have you seen that metaphor, that meme on social media about the red ants and the black ants?
No.
How right when you put red ants and black ants, I don't even know if it's like real, but it's a great metaphor regardless. When you put red ants and black ants in a jar, they get along just fine until someone shakes the jar. And the minute someone shakes the jar, they start to attack each other. But each other is not the problem. The person shaking the jar is the problem. So I want to keep that
Mhm.
in mind when we talk about this,
Love that.
that when I talk about burning down traditional public education, I
Mhm.
am not blaming teachers. I am not anti-teacher. I am just saying it's a lose-lose for literally everyone involved. And it's the powers that be that have set us up and put us in this position, right? So that's the anarchist in me.
Mhm.
The meet people where they are in me says that we believe people. We just believe people, one, and that behavior is communication. So I think we often do this. I am guilty of it too. No moral high horse here. I think as adults, it's really easy to tell, especially a kid, oh, that doesn't hurt. Oh, you can hold it. Oh, you know the answer to that question.
Mhm.
And I think it's easy to not believe people, especially children. And so I think number one is we just believe people. When they tell us about their experience, we believe them, even if it doesn't match our perception and even if it doesn't match what we've learned, like we just believe people,
Mhm.
which sounds so much easier than it really is, right?
For sure.
And then we lead with curiosity. If we start by belief, not judgment, then we get curious. This is like the Ted Lasso in me. It's like be curious, don't judge,
Mhm.
be curious. So like then we ask questions. And it can be as simple as like we get caught up and it's got to be the right question, or to your point, like the verbiage. It can just be like, I'm so glad you're telling me that. Tell me more.
Mhm.
And again, I realize that teachers don't often have the time for that, but belief and
Mhm.
curiosity, those feel like really good places to start.
I love that, and the understanding of it, because I think there was something, and I admitted that, I don't watch too many reels or videos, but the ones that you post are so helpful. And I think
Thank
there
you.
was something you were talking about too, where, if there's a team that is playing on the field and one kid is, off in the corner kicking
Yeah.
the rocks or
Yeah.
sitting,
Picking daisies in the
bored
yard.
out of their mind, for the coach to not yell at the kid,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
to get curious about how to engage that child. And I think
Right.
that that's super helpful too.
Because again, the model that we've been given from so many generations of doing it this way is that like we're here to punish behavior and shape behavior,
Mhm.
as opposed to think of behavior as communication. So are some people just jerks? Sure, but like not most,
Mhm. Mhm.
especially kids. And so if we think about behavior as communication, again, that puts us in a different mindset of like, what's going on over there? Like, help me understand,
Mhm.
rather than I need to punish, that I need to give it a directive. I'm the boss here. It's this very gross patriarchal thing, that, we've been given. Just it's been this way for a long time. So it makes sense, but like we can
Right.
do it differently. When
Right.
we know better, we get to do better.
So with this upheaval of false information that came out last week, what are you advising folks do? Um, I think themes are get curious, get educated,
Yeah,
read, challenge. Um, but it is so hurtful, I
so
think.
hurtful.
And what is your slice of hope?
Oh, that's a really hard question. Um, I'm hopeful about because of this conversation. I'm always hopeful when people are curious. So in terms of speaking to the autistic community, um, we are more than what people think about us. We are, oh, I'm gonna get
You
emotional.
can get emotional, please. That's
Uh,
how real it is.
we are more than the assumptions that people make about us. And to hear all the talk of essentially eugenics, all this end autism stuff,
Uh-huh.
it's more than hurtful. It cuts at a soul level because it's essentially saying that we shouldn't exist. And I just need people to understand, I see a lot of stuff on the internet about like you shouldn't identify with your disorder or your diagnosis. But again, that's using this medical pathologizing model, and autism is not that, it's a neurotype. So we can't differentiate where do I begin and autism's like where do I end and autism starts? Like it's it's me. I'm it. It's like I don't have to get all over identified with the struggles and based in that and like create a reality for myself that's really depressing. I don't have to do that, but I also I am autistic. I don't have autism. I am autistic. So for the autism community, we are not broken. And we're going to continue to persist and show up the way that we have for centuries and millennia. And for people who are not autistic but are worried about this information, really like talk to your doctor, first of all, like don't take medical advice from someone who has no medical background, regardless of their title or what office they hold. That's just, that's bad news, generally speaking.
Mhm.
Talk to your doctor, make decisions that are right for you, and just know there's vaccines don't cause autism. Tylenol doesn't cause autism. It's just really important that we keep reminding people of that when the opposite narrative is being shoved down all of our throats.
Mhm. And I do think regardless of what somebody is going through in life, to have a proper diagnosis can be a huge relief for some people. And knowing
Absolutely.
how I can get the support that I need, that there's a community that I can connect with, because, something I've seen you say too, on your website is, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken.
Right. Right. For sure. But absolutely, the world makes us feel like we are. I just lost track of what I was going to say. I feel so overwhelmed in this moment.
I just want to say thank you for saying yes. I adore you and the work that you're
Oh,
doing.
back
We
at you.
are raising kids similar in age and have so much
Yes.
crossover, and I'm honored to call you a friend and a colleague, and I will put all the ways to find you and the amazing work that you're doing in the show notes, and
Thank
we'll
you.
share the shit out of it.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your willingness to engage in this hot button topic, and I appreciate your willingness to learn. We talked about it before you hit record, but like we live in a world that's like everyone feels like they have to be an expert of everything, or you're an idiot, or you have something to be ashamed of, and that's just such a harmful narrative. Like
So harmful.
there's only
Absolutely.
so much we can know, and there's nothing wrong with not knowing, and there's nothing wrong with learning, and there's nothing wrong with saying, like, whoo, I got that wrong. I'm going to think about that. I need to learn more about that. I need to shut my mouth and listen more. Like, those are beautiful ways to lead. And so, yeah, I'm so grateful for you in this conversation.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you.